A doubleheader day for the NCAA on CBS. And hi again, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien. After Louisville and Memphis State in our...
When you cross the mighty Mississippi into Memphis, Tennessee, you think of the king, Elvis Presley. His 13-acre Graceland home remains the #1 tourist attraction in this city. Annually, 700,000 persons flock to see it. But there's a new star emerging in Memphis, and he gets more television time than the local weathermen, selling cars, furniture, and waterbeds.
He's making America's best-built cars and trucks for the 3rd year in a row. That's right.
It's Memphis State basketball coach Dana Kirk. He has built a powerhouse here, capable of reaching the Final Four in Lexington, Kentucky. His stallion is Keith Lee. And today, the All-American forward plays his final game in the Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis. The emerging star for Kirk is his young 7-foot center, William Bedford. And within the next couple of years, he will move into the elite with centers in the college game. And the Memphis State player who hopes to hound Louisville today is Baskerville Holmes. It's a front line that's making Dana Kirk the new king in Memphis.
24 has just been introduced to the Mid-South sellout crowd. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger. So number 24, Keith Lee, playing his final game here in Memphis, and his uniform number will be retired. But as far as the Memphis Tigers are concerned, there's still the NCAA tournament to look forward to. They could go in as one of the top-seeded teams. And Billy Packer, speaking of the tournament, Louisville is annually there, but suddenly we find Denny Crum and this team on the fence.
They are on the fence, Brent, but they have played, in my opinion, 10 games of teams that'll be guaranteed to be in that tournament. They've won 4 out of those 10 games, and I think that they have played probably the most difficult schedule in the country this year outside of their conference.
And one of the reasons why they are not an automatic entry, injuries, especially to 2 players. Now, this is a freshman, Kevin Walls. We don't know how much he would have been able to help, but Denny Crum thinks a lot. But here is the main man that he lost this year.
Well, Milt Wagner was, without question, an All-American caliber player. Only played 1 full game. That was up at IU when they beat Indiana. Broke that bone in his foot in the 2nd game against Virginia Commonwealth. Certainly, there aren't many teams in the country that could have done without a player of his caliber.
All right, and Milt Wagner is returning to Louisville, according to Coach Crum, so he will have his senior year of eligibility remaining next year. Now, speaking of Denny, as to whether or not Louisville is going to get into the tournament, well, Billy Packer spoke to him a short time ago, and Denny remains confident. He thinks he should be one of the 64 teams. Against a tough Memphis State team would help their cause a lot. We'll be back with the starting lineups. It is Memphis State and Louisville coming up on CBS in just a moment. The 3 seniors on this Memphis State team now being honored, and there Billy Packer is the mighty one, Keith Lee, who for the last 3 years as a freshman, sophomore, and junior took this Tiger basketball team into the Final 16. That's one of only 5 schools that can claim that, along with Louisville, Houston, Virginia, and North Carolina.
And that doesn't include Georgetown, so Keith Lee is the only really major player, not Patrick Ewing, but Keith Lee, that's led his team 3 straight years into that Sweet 16. They're retiring his number right now. Only Larry Finch, who, remember, went to the Final Four with Keenan against UCLA. Larry Finch's number had been retired, number 21, and Ronnie Robertson, number 24. Keith becomes number 3, and that's his... He's always a guy that likes little kids.
And that is his son, who he likes a lot, standing out there with his wife, who plays basketball for the Memphis State ladies team.
That's right, she did play, and Keith met her coming out of the locker room. So they've been a basketball family since day 1. Saw his brother play yesterday. He's only 15. He's about 6'5", and he's going to be a player too.
Dana Kirk huddled up with his team, and they'll match up now against Denny Crum and the Louisville Cardinals, who have something to prove in here. They were the last team to beat Memphis State in this arena 20 games ago. He will start his familiar starting 5. The big man is Billy Thompson at 6'7", only a junior. As you can see, just 1 senior in that Louisville lineup, Manuel Forrest. And Denny telling us yesterday, this could be a very good basketball team next year. And Memphis State today, to honor their 3 seniors, along with Keith Lee, they will also start Willie Beckton, the 6'5" senior, and Ricky McCoy, a 6'2" senior, and they'll keep a couple couple of their regulars on the sideline for a short time.
That's really not a bad move by Dana, because the best game that Beckton's ever had in his career here at Memphis State has been against Louisville. He had an outstanding ball game against them. He started 6 games at the end of last year, but that game against Louisville, 16 points and 4 assists, so not exactly a throwaway starter.
Dana Kirk and Memphis State at 23-3, and there you can see Louisville at 15-14.
Now, as I pointed out at the top of the show, and I think that Denny feels kind of the same way, when you play the caliber of opponents that they've played, 10 games against teams that are sure to be in the NCAA tournament with a record of 4-6, that's pretty strong competition.
Memphis State has already clinched the regular season Metro Conference title. What that means is they are seeded #1 in the tournament in Louisville next week. Louisville will go in either 4th or 5th. They could meet each other thus in the semifinals. Tampa is controlled, and #10 is Mark McSwain. Thompson, the big man, and you can see Memphis State collapsing on him. And this is Hall, the strong outside shooter, working it over to the corner, and the first shot by Forrest.
Coming over the back is McSwain. McCoy is a fellow that started also as a freshman, and we talk about, even though these are seniors, these players that Dana Kirk starting today have had outstanding careers. McCoy made 25 of 26 free throws as a freshman, so he's been around a while and has given them some solid play.
That's McCoy right there, Billy, just moving the ball to Beckton, the other senior. 7-footer, Bedford, #50. There's the little general, Andre Turner, missing, and Keith Lee with an offensive rebound.
Bedford going up, just slamming it, keeping the ball alive on the board, and it goes in for him. You're seeing Keith Lee. He holds the ball above his head very often in the offensive flow of the game. He's got a great pair of hands. Bedford playing back low in the lane, so Sumter has to realize he's not being guarded. Have to get a little bit more active.
Forrest comes out high. There's actually a shortage of natural guards on the floor as far as Louisville is concerned. They even list Thompson as a guard when they hand out their starting lineups right now. There's a 45-second shot clock in the Metro, and Barry Sumter, their 6'11" center, hits the first hoop to get his tie.
Pretty good pump fake by Sumter. Man-to-man by Louisville. Keith Lee's an excellent passer.
On the turnover, Louisville will come down on the attack with a chance to go ahead. Jeff Hall, the junior guard, moves it. They get it back inside, and drawing the foul that time was Mark McSwain.
Whenever you play against a Denny Crum team, you usually have trouble matching up, because as you pointed out, he doesn't have a natural guard out there. He usually has big guards. And here you have McSwain matched up with McCoy, and McCoy can't handle him inside. And Denny always exploits that by having his bigger guards go inside against smaller people. Zone out of bounds for Memphis State.
Hall's first shot of the game. Rattled out, but it went right into the hands of Mark McSwain.
Asking Manuel Forrest to really do a lot of work. Turner has a great deal of quickness advantage over him.
Lee maneuvering for his shot. Beckton.
As we said, Beckton had the big day against Louisville. He started off his career at St. Louis and was actually the Metro Rookie of the Year as a freshman at St. Louis. Transferred back here and played 2 years.
Forrest. Louisville doing a good job at the offensive glass. Now, Thompson traveled after picking up that rebound, but they're getting position inside against perhaps the toughest center power forward combination in college basketball.
Well, Louisville beat you with quickness, not only in maneuverability, but also getting off the floor, and that's always been one of their strengths. There's Lee holding that ball above his head. It's kind of a style that's rather unique. Hadn't been able to get his first 2 yet, and you know he wants one.
Missing again.
Oh, good
boy, has it taken away by McSwain. Sumter was fouled. Bedford's first.
That's a good job by Sumter, even getting his hands on that ball, because he had Lee fronting him and he had Bedford behind him. He was still able to go up there and draw the foul. Of course, no shot be taken. We're not in a 1-and-1 yet. Billy Thompson, excellent passer. Louisville not getting a lot of movement right now. Memphis stayed in their 2-3 zone.
Forrest got it back inside to Thompson. High arc on it. And the foul is called on Forrest, his first.
Billy Thompson actually had to alter that shot because Bedford was coming out. A good shot blocker. And Billy might have been better off just going ahead and taking his normal release. Very difficult to alter that arch in midair.
Keith Lee is struggling to get into the offensive flow. They were collapsing on him. Bedford missing outside, and it's all red going to the glass. Sumter.
There, Bedford got lost on defense. Sumter wide open. Bedford seems to be upset with himself a little bit. Had the great game against Akeem Olajuwon. You know what type of talent that he has.
Memphis State is only 2 of 7 off the start. Now they're 2 of 8. Bedford missed everything with that shot. McCoy couldn't get it done. Lee finally underneath.
McCoy's been tough on the boards. One of the smallest fellows on the floor.
Sumter maneuvering again, and he traveled.
Good idea by Barry Sumter with the pump fakes, but he moved his feet.
Got a timeout in Memphis. We're tied at 6. It's the main man.
Billy Thompson, a very quiet player. He came on the scene, one of the most highly recruited players in the last few years. He's having an excellent year, but he does it in a very quiet way. We'll watch him as this game progresses.
And there is Vincent Askew, the freshman guard. Now, the key to the Memphis State team is how often Turner and Askew can get the ball into the hands of the thoroughbreds. Lee Beckton stays on the floor for them right now, along with Bedford. And, of course, Baskerville Holmes will be out here.
Very key shot right there, because they've got to get some outside shooting the way Louisville's packing that defense back inside. Great man-to-man by Memphis State.
Get it to Hall. Down low. Tapped in beautifully by Forrest.
And there again, you see Louisville taking advantage of the big size they have in the backcourt to take Turner down in low, really handicapped by about 5 or 6 inches.
Louisville could have won their first meeting in that city. They missed a couple of free throws with about 12 seconds to go, trailing by a point. Lee's pass is intercepted.
Great defensive job.
That on Bedford is his 3rd foul, and that is the critical early moment of this game.
That was a great defensive job by Mark McSwain, using his quickness to go over and break that pass up. Keith Lee probably should have taken the shot.
Dana Kirk will make 2 changes. First, Baskerville Holmes will come in. Bedford will sit down, which means that Keith Lee moves to center in this alignment. And the defense will pick Louisville up high.
There's a 2-2-1 full court zone press, dropping back.
Thompson.
Good tap back by Sumter.
Hit by Lee. Loose Louisville.
There's Billy Thompson.
Hall
always on the ball. Jeff Hall, one of the best pure shooters in the country, has had a little difficulty this year. Normally he was able to get that shot off because he's left unguarded. This year, because of his reputation, people are sticking right with it. And he's given Turner all the jump shots Turner wants. Turner wide open. He's going to have to make some of those, Brent.
By Memphis State, but Beckton didn't see it. Askew was forced to get it out of there because he was falling down, and it would have been a turnover.
Very close to backcourt by Sumter. But had a toenail over.
Thompson maneuvering for his shot. Lee's rebound. Move the ball to Askew. Dishes to Holmes.
Basketball Holmes, a very good wing player, excellent leaper. 7-foot 2-inch high jumper in high school. Good press.
Ball finally gets it up for Louisville. Traveling.
A lot of people who have watched Louisville over the years since Denny Crum has been there are probably wondering where the press is this year. I really admire a coach that takes advantage of his talent. He doesn't feel that this is the type of team that he can use that pressure defense. Reverted back to a much more solid, in-tight man-to-man. Keith Lee wants that ball. Bad shot.
3 defenders. He went up and drew the foul. Here comes the free throw line. He'll shoot a pair.
Boy, Keith Lee is very animated. 3 men around him. He wants that ball. He's put on a lot of weight this year, and I think he's put it on in the right places. It's made him kind of a power player, and he was very animated after that with the bench from Louisville. They must be getting on his case.
First foul on Sumter.
He's an excellent free throw shooter. He's one of the leaders in the nation as a freshman and sophomore. Down somewhat this year, but still an excellent free thrower. Fine release on that shot.
Putting the Tigers up 12-10 with 12:40 to go here in the first half. We're in Memphis, Tennessee. It is Louisville against the Memphis State Tigers. Hall for the Cardinals. Beckton rebounded.
Hey, Jeff Hall not getting his feet together to get that shot up. Sumter and Keith Lee really banging around on the inside.
Good defense by Louisville so far in this game. Collapsing on Lee again, forcing him to miss, and then hitting for the rebound.
Brent, I think he's so anxious to do well in this game. He's taken some bad shots. The shot selection's not there, and Louisville really packing defense in on him.
Force short. Thompson's rebound comes back up spinning. He misses. Lee has been strong, rebounding the defensive end. Turner with a 3-on-2.
Good job by Turner to pull up and not try to drive that down the lane.
It's a 4-point Memphis State lead. McSwain.
Louisville can't buy a basket.
Turner again.
Timeout, Louisville.
And the Little General has given the Tigers a 6-point lead with 11:19 to go in the first half.
Turner, last week, remember, we had Pearl Washington. And Pearl Washington on the year has got about 150 assists, about 110 turnovers, which is really not that good a ratio. You'd like at least 2 to 1. Turner has 153 assists this year and only 62 turnovers, which shows how well he's been leading his ball club.
Really, Louisville's missed 7 in a row, battling to get a shot selection here. Now, after they press to the midcourt line, you'll see Memphis State just kind of back into that. That's automatic with Dana Kirk when anybody in that front line gets into early foul trouble.
They're playing straight man-to-man when they drop back in there. Louisville really making some bad decisions inside in their offense.
On the turnover, Beckton got it in the hands of Turner, and this is the freshman guard, Askew.
Now we've got Billy Thompson matched up with Keith Lee. I don't know if that was by mistake. I believe it was because Sumter's coming over to help out.
Beckton. It's an 8-point Memphis State lead.
You think Dana Kirk doesn't remember Beckton had that big day against Louisville?
Just leaving him right there, and that time Beckton fouled.
Denny Crum brought Jeter in to try to get a little bit more quickness in that backcourt and match up a little better with Turner.
So number 25 is James Jeter.
Good pass.
Sumter.
It goes. That was a prayer.
They needed it.
That was a prayer. After all the good shot opportunities that Louisville had, all of a sudden come back and just kind of throw up a prayer and get it to go. Just a mix-up on the switch before. Sumter is really going to guard Keith Lee, or try to.
That time he got it down and gets to come to the free throw line, but he's not even looking past.
No, he's really thinking to put the ball up. Keith Lee really spreads out well, sits down, gets that body behind him. Little Moses Malone, he's not as strong as Malone, but little Moses Malone positioning there, using his whole lower body to gain some room.
He's about half as wide as Mo.
Yeah, about half as wide. Probably has a little bit longer arms and is taller. I doubt if he has the stamina either. Tough pass. Nice job by Lee.
Deflected by Lee, out of bounds.
That's a great job by Keith Lee. His defense has been maligned by a lot of people, but he did an excellent job there, realizing where that passing lane was.
Jeter will try to get it out of that corner. Thompson in low.
Nice play. Billy Thompson listed about, what, 6'7". Really plays like he's about 6'9" with those long arms and great hands. Lee's got that kind of range, so you notice Sumter has to go out and play him 18, 20 feet from the basket. Lee is really banging.
Banging Lee, and they get it on the turnover. McSwain comes out of there, and this is Thompson. Sealed up at the baseline. Sumter.
Good job. Barry Sumter's been given a lot of pump fakes and head fakes, and that time he went straight up. Good change of pace.
They cut that 8-point lead in half. 8:59 to go here. First half in Memphis. Turner, the littlest man, has to fall away when he tries a jump shot in there. Foul on Beckton is his second.
Slap foul down on McSwain. McSwain did a good job blocking out on that rebound.
And Memphis State reaches the limit with that one. That is their sixth.
Now, since Dana Kirk went to the 2-2-1 press, it really had a nice streak that gave him the opening margin there. But now Louisville seems to be matching up with it a little bit better.
Jeter a little quicker than Hall, gives them a little more maneuverability in the backcourt with this lineup, and he's been trying to spray the ball around and get position.
Well, normally Denny Crum makes you match up with him. He was forced, because Turner having a good game, to go match up with Dana Kirk.
Good play by Forrest, who just returned to the game. Manuel Forrest maneuvering in the paint for that shot, and that pulls the Cardinals to within 2, and they're right back in the thick of it.
Forrest had in his most recent game against South Carolina, the biggest game of his career. Looks very positive putting up the shot.
Denny Crum is recognized as good a game coach as there is in the business. Beckton missing, Sumter rebounding, and the Cardinals can climb back to a tie. Cook, short, knocked out of bounds.
Now Denny Crum's getting the shot he wants against that pressure. Little short jumpers, 12 feet from the sideline, but nobody can get him to go down.
We're going to have a timeout here in Memphis. 7:48 left. This is where the Tigers lead the Cardinals by 2. And near the conclusion of today's game on CBS, Billy and I will select a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the Game from each team. And Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school. Memphis State on the attack right now. leading by 2. A short time ago, they were up by 8. Lee. Askew couldn't control, and here's the man who's turned it around for him, Jeter. After they missed 7 in a row, Louisville's hit 4 of their last 5 until that missed by Thompson. Thompson is not shooting well here in the opening half either. Beautiful rejection underneath, however, defensively. He contributes that way.
One of the things that Billy Thompson, he's such an unselfish player. Brent, on that last shot, he was looking to pass. And when he finally decided to shoot, it was a little bit too late. There's a great pass. And watch Billy Thompson come across the lane, block this ball out of bounds. Good job. At least he was hustling even after he missed the shot.
Sumner reaching over Lee, fouled him.
Lee could pick up a couple of more on Sumter, and then Denny Crum's really got problems because he's very small after Sumter goes out of the lineup. It's a tough job to ask anybody to go ahead and post up down low with Keith Lee and not get in some foul trouble.
The tallest center he has ever used. It has always been a small, quick team.
Ricky Gallen that played for him a few years ago is the only player he's had of that size. Sumter has got a little bit more weight with him. And they're banging. He and Keith Lee are really banging down low. And what's happened is Memphis State men away from the ball are not moving to take their men to clean it out for Keith Lee. Therefore, it's easy to double team him.
Traveling on that turnover.
Lee acknowledged it to the official. But you can't, away from the ball, stand still. Otherwise, your defensive man can afford to go over and clog up. So guys like Baskerville-Holmes are going to have to move and exchange places to occupy their defensive man.
Memphis State was afflicted by that in their loss to Detroit the other evening, a game I watched here on television. They stopped moving down the stretch.
Memphis State really has that defense backed up inside. Jeff Hall just waiting to get the ball in his hands against his zone. Wide open for the jumper.
Lee gets it out. And here is Boyd, who is coming off Dana Kirk's bench. Dwight Boyd, he's a freshman backcourt player.
Boyd handles that ball really well. He and Askew are going to be around this lineup for a long time. Two solid-looking freshmen.
Boyd hits his first shot.
Good post up. Louisville wanting to throw that ball right over the zone press. You see Memphis State going back to their 2-1-2 with Keith Lee in the middle.
Bedford is on the sideline because of 3 personal fouls he picked up here in the early going.
Pretty good court coverage with this zone. Nice pass.
And it back to Jeter.
That's a great pass by Sumner. You put the ball inside a zone like that and get a big man that'll dish it out quickly, and you've got a lot of good open jump shots. Sumner playing a much improved game over what I've seen him do against good ball clubs.
Foul underneath. Holmes pulling the trigger. He was hammered, wasn't he?
Baskerville not afraid to go and take the ball down the baseline, even against a Billy Thompson, because he has that great leaping ability, doing a lot of pushing down there. Good feed inside. Manuel Forrest and Thompson both got a piece.
And Forrest was assessed the personal Billy.
Manuel Forrest trying to tell that official he was pushed away, but that's going to go on deaf ears right there. Now, people have made fun of this young man's name for a long time. They say his mother was a big fan of the film. And when she was in labor, she decided to name him Baskerville, from the Hounds of the Baskerville movie.
Could have been Hound Holmes.
I guess it could have been. Or Sherlock, huh?
net by Hall, and they will be shooting 1-1.
Now, Manuel Forrest a little bit out of range there against that zone, putting up that jumper. Nobody on the weak side rebounding. I think what we're seeing Denny Crum let him know right now is they don't need that shot in the offense.
On this side, move up by the free throw line. Don't stand over there with the ball.
Just trying to get a little placement on his ball club. Both of these teams lined up, the way things stand right now in the Metro, lined up possibly to have to play in the semifinals of the Metro Conference Tournament.
That would be on Friday night. And, of course, next Saturday, Billy, you and I will have the championship game from Freedom Hall, which is now as good a basketball arena as there is in the country, since it's been renovated, improved, and enlarged.
Right back to the 2-3 zone. And even without Bedford, it's pretty good size in there with Keith Lee patrolling the middle.
Jenner.
So many times today, the Louisville jump shooters really haven't had their feet in position to go up with that shot. It's almost been as a secondary thought. It throws them off a little bit. It's happened to Hall, happened to Jenner on that play. Now, what Denny Crum is going to want to do here is get somebody on that top of the foul line to get the ball down inside right in front of Keith Lee and then make a move. Here comes Billy Thompson across. That's where the hole is against a 2-3, to try to hit right down in between the two men playing out front and the man playing on the backside.
They did a good job of collapsing on Thompson inside, so Forrest presses in.
Great rebound.
Strong rebound.
Askew is a powerful player.
Turner hits the field goal. That was a splendid sequence by their two guards, Askew with the rebound and Turner with the field goal.
Well, Askew has quite a body on him, a great set of legs. Good hand.
Thompson coming through. He traveled.
That was some kind of catch by Billy Thompson. Had to reach around behind him. Had the ball been thrown with a little bit of a lead, he'd been able to dunk it.
Letter here on CBS, and for our second game, many of you will be watching Villanova take on Pittsburgh in the Big East. The rest of you will see that showdown in the Pac-10, Arizona and UCLA. How about the Bruins and USC the other night, battling 4 overtimes before USC came up a winner.
There's some teams playing in those two ball games that are really in serious contention for NCAA tournament bids. I'd have to say Villanova probably in there. Arizona with 20 wins. You got to give them pretty serious consideration.
Off McSwain's foot. Memphis State's ball. They get a fresh 45. 2:42 to go here in the first half. It's 28-21. Memphis State with a record of 23-3, headed for the NCAA tournament. Louisville with a mark of 15-14 on the fence right now.
Key to this game so far in the first half to me has been this man right here, Turner. Denny Crum didn't anticipate he'd be hitting those outside jumpers. You can see the defense packed way back inside.
Holmes fouling Forrest. So they'll be coming up and shooting because they reached the limit, and that's the 7th team foul against the Tigers.
Manuel Forrest, one of the most highly recruited players in the country coming out of Louisville his senior year. Was an outstanding leaper, but he got some knee problems, and the knee problems have taken away some of his leaping ability, and I think that's had a lot to do with separating him from being a good college player to being a great college player. He's always had a nice shooting touch, got good size, really been handicapped by injuries. 2 broken noses this year. Starting to play Turner a lot tighter outside.
Lee maneuvering.
Keith Lee was able to get a lot of space for himself there. I'm surprised nobody collapsed on him when he put the ball on the floor.
They've turned it over to Memphis State. Askew hits the little general.
He's been the difference in this game. We talked about all that front line power at the start. But Turner has turned it around.
Louisville having difficulty sustaining anything in this game. They get up there close within 3 or 4 or 5, and then they'll come down here and make a turnover, and they can't attack this zone. Rebounded by McSwain. Yanked down by the Tigers. Here's Holmes. Askew dishing back. Good.
Boy, what a pass. Boy, Danny Kirk has to like the fact that they'll be around for 3 more years. That's some combination on the break. This is a big possession for Louisville. Time running down. They've got to get a basket here before half.
Ball. And they did, Billy. Inside of a minute. 47 seconds.
Memphis State ought to go for last shot here, even though the shot clock is down to 37. Almost equal shot clock and time clock, one and the same. I think they ought to hold it for last one. Go to Keith Lee inside, try to pick up another foul on something.
The story of the first half. The 7-foot center, William Bedford, gets into foul trouble. Memphis State's big star, Keith Lee, struggles offensively, and then it is the little men, led by that man, Andre Turner, who sparked this team. 3 guards on the floor, bringing the clock down right now with a 9-point lead, and here's the little general again. Boyd gets it back. Keith Lee, with time running out in the first half, misses, but Memphis State will take a 34-25 lead into their locker room. And coming up at halftime, we'll take a look at the second games of our doubleheader today. Villanova, Pittsburgh, Arizona, UCLA. And we'll have an update on Indiana's Bob Knight and Pat O'Brien. We'll take a look at what's ahead on CBS Sports Saturday.
Coming up next here on CBS between Arizona and UCLA. And the rest of you will watch that confrontation in the Big East with a couple of teams that still hope to get into the tournament, Villanova and Pittsburgh. And if the game's not any good, you can always watch Villanova coach Raleigh Massimino.
Continue after this word from your local station. Cardinals and the Memphis State Tigers is sponsored by L.A. from Anheuser-Busch with half the alcohol of our regular beer. Sometimes it's the perfect thing to say. Nissan, we're changing our name from Datsun to Nissan. Known for high-quality cars and trucks, Datsun is now Nissan. And by NCR, who brings you a better personal computer.
Billy Packer just loves to talk basketball with anybody, especially some of the good fans he's found here.
Well, Brent, you're a big baseball fan, so I'm going to get in to show you what basketball fans do at the game. We have Henry Nolan. Henry, you've been going to games here 30 years, and you missed 3 or 4 in 30 years. You have your own style of keeping up with the stats, which I think eliminates our CBS shot chart for today. Tell me what do you have right here? You've got points by each player?
Yes, sir. I then have both field goals and then free throws.
And then you have down here, I see you keep up with turnovers also.
I then keep the turnovers and I keep the fouls also.
Now, you've been doing this for 20 years?
Right here for 20 years
for
at
20?
the Coliseum.
I like this little deal you have down here in the bottom, TBS National. You even keep up whether it's a national game or not.
Yes,
and
sir.
The referees.
Yes, sir.
That's a terrific job. We really appreciate you sharing that with us today.
Good to be
Nice hobby.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. And listen, I'll just take Mike Swanson's scoring board here.
Yeah,
and
you
just
can throw it away.
Huh?
And tomorrow's newspaper, because Herky's accurate.
All right. They are thinking of enlarging this arena here in Memphis or building a new arena.
He'll be here.
Because this is the toughest season ticket to get this side of the New York Giants. I mean, they have got a waiting list of about 3,500. Dana Kirk has done such a good job of putting together this program. And what I find so remarkable about Memphis State is it's a homegrown basketball team. These kids are all from Memphis, and there goes the
You know what happened there?
They didn't know where they were headed.
Right. Louisville was going in the wrong direction.
Denny Crum just shrugged, looked over at me, and said, "What can you do?"
I've seen that happen open with a guy actually scoring at the wrong basket, not realizing where he was going. But Louisville was just set up in the wrong direction. Tough break for Denny Crum. That's one he'll remember for a long time. When
He sure will. What an embarrassment that is at that moment. McSwain trying to power up. This is a very important half of basketball for Louisville. Turner. Now, if he gets out of control and starts shooting it up too much, it takes the big guys out of the rhythm, and that's what happened the other night in Detroit. He has also got to be concerned about dishing the ball out and getting some assists.
You're right, Brent. One of the things that Andre has a tendency to do, maybe to get a little out of control, try to force action when it's not there. I think the second half, since Keith Lee has been held down fairly well in regard to the amount of times he's had the ball, they should go inside, and there it is.
That was Sumter's third personal foul, Billy, so you alluded to the fact that that could be troublesome for Denny because he doesn't have the big reserve on the bench. They get it in low. He should have come right away with the shot. McSwain hesitates, misses. Now Lee battles for the rebound. He had it open right now.
And brings it up the court. Lee can't handle the ball, puts it between his legs. Keith Lee has those hands up above his head so well, both in the rebounding position and offensively. Gets a lot of rebounds just kind of standing. Not a great leaper, but plays like a 7-footer.
Turner's NBA hero is Isaiah Thomas of the Detroit Pistons. Got to watch him on that road trip up in Detroit the other night against the Chicago Bulls, too. Inside, looking for Askew, the freshman guard. He could do a lot of things. He had 6 assists in the first half.
Yeah, Askew can rebound. He can shoot. He's got good power.
William Bedford, the 7-footer, has been a spectator here today. After picking up 3 personals, they don't even start him off in the second half. He's still watching.
The zone way down inside. Louisville should be getting some shots off against it. There's one by Hall. I'm surprised that Louisville hadn't put a guy right around the foul line. Just try to get that ball down inside some. Zone. Louisville going to zone of their own. 1-3-1.
Another one of the changes by Coach Crum this year. He has been basically a man-to-man defensive coach through the years. Here's Boyd getting inside. Slick move.
That's the second spectacular play by Boyd today. He did a job on that fast break.
How about those 2 freshman guards? Boyd and Askew. Thompson.
Keith Lee got a piece of it. Teams going zone. It's funny to see, as you say, Brent, Denny Crum play in zone. He was, of course, taught by John Wooden, who was always a man-to-man guy. And then we see Dave Bliss down SMU playing zone, taught by Bobby Knight, who's always man-to-man.
Force missed. Holmes rebounded. Here comes the general again.
Good pass.
Yeah, it was beautiful inside.
Great pass by Keith Lee inside. Louisville really in some serious trouble right now.
And looking at Memphis State, you're watching a team that is capable of getting to Lexington. This is a top-flight basketball team you're watching win here today.
Hall. There was nice penetration by McSwain. And Hall, when he does have his feet planted, looking square up at that basket, is as good as pure shooter anybody around.
Memphis State has done this without its 7-foot center. He picked up those 3 fouls early, and he has not been a factor in this game. They've used 2 freshman guards, showing us some of their depth.
McSwain helping out again on Keith Lee. Keith Lee being double teamed every step of the way today.
Holmes.
Oh. Shot.
Can't believe how much basketball talent there is in this one city.
Well, what's interesting, you have Memphis State, you also have UAB, which is basically made up of Memphis kids. They won last night in the Sun Belt.
And they love this team in this city. Mousetrap that started the second half. He sent his players off in the opposite direction. Louisville sent its defense down there and then watched the little general break free and that was the field goal that ambushed the Cardinals to start the half. Dana Kirk, a movie producer, saw him on a tournament game on CBS and called him up and he said, "Can you act that angry for me?" And Dana said, "Sure, I've been acting all my life." So he's going to be in a new movie coming out called New Girl. He coaches a women's basketball team. It is due out sometime this spring. He was so good that they've asked him back to be in a Western that they're going to shoot in Arizona. One condition, he gets to wear 2 guns, not 1. He says, "I'm a 2-gun man." Thompson with the field goal for the Cardinals. It is 44-31, 15-20 to go in the second half, and the Cardinals in deep trouble.
Well, Brent, I'm sure a lot of coaches watching tapes of college games around the country, that play will show up elsewhere, but I guarantee you Memphis State never gets away with it again. It'll be on the chalkboard all over the country. I've never seen it before in basketball.
Lee,
frustrated, trying to go outside.
Little General was rebounded and drew the foul that time on Manuel Forrest, his 3rd.
Now, we still shouldn't have a shooting foul here because he was passing that off. Let's see if Turner tries to fake him out and go to the line. No problem. Is that keeping that ball above his head again?
And Boyd is the open man. Quick touch pass underneath. This team looks good, doesn't it?
Looks like Boyd and Askew spent a lot of time in the summer before they came here playing on the Memphis playgrounds because they know where they are.
Gives them a whole new dimension when they take out one of the big men and go to this 3-guard lineup, and it has been effective. Something off to the left. All runs it down for Louisville.
Good idea by Billy Thompson. He got Holmes up in the air and then drew the foul, an NBA-type play. Here's where Louisville really misses the Milt Wagner. He's the guy that could be the steadying influence, the guy you know is going to get you 18, 20 points in a big ball game. They just don't have anybody to go to right now offensively. Well, Billy Thompson is in the top 10 in every offensive category in the Metro Conference. Scoring, field goal percentage, rebound and assist, and free throw shooting percentage. He is a quiet star. He's not the kind of guy that takes over a game. The Camden connection. Walls, Thompson, and Wagner, all 3 from Camden, New Jersey. I understand Louisville is giving a scholarship to a Camden High School student, non-athlete, because of that great connection they've had with the athletes. Pretty nice gesture.
Got a chance to be the team manager if he wants that job. Foul away from the ball underneath. Keith Lee, and that's his 1st in this game. Get an update on a score in the Big East. St. John's. You know, Billy, here's an interesting trivia question. When's the last time that a team ranked #1 in the country this late in the year is not in first place in its conference? And that could happen. If St. John's wins that game this afternoon, Georgetown could come out #1 in the land, and they still trail the Redmen as far as the Big East is concerned. On the turnover, here comes Turner. It's to Askew.
I am really impressed with Askew and his power game on the inside. These 2 freshman players that Dana Kirk has can play. Boyd and Askew. They make all the difference in the world when they're in that lineup. And we haven't seen Bedford yet in the second half.
You know, and tomorrow we get to see a couple of teams that I think have got Final Four potential. Georgia Tech and Oklahoma coming your way from Norman on CBS at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That's a good confrontation to see.
But the 2-3 zone really giving Louisville problems. They can't get the ball on the foul line.
Forrest.
Memphis State has a lot of quickness in that zone. Just when you think you're open, somebody like Turner shoots out and alters your shot. Good pump fake by Lee.
Thompson's rebound, outlet to Forrest. 2-on-2. Memphis State has a couple of defenders back, so they slow it down. Swain gets it back to Thompson. Blocked, and Lee is assessed with a personal foul. Hit him in the arm when he came up.
There's those long arms of Billy Thompson. He went right on inside. Even though Lee has some size on him, Thompson able to get the shot off.
There's been a question about Lee's speed getting up and down the floor as far as his NBA potential is concerned. I think he's been getting up and down fine this afternoon.
Yeah, he had a lot of problems with his legs. There you see all the fraternities. They're really a love affair in this town over this young man. A lot of people didn't expect him to play 4 years and go on to the NBA.
Exactly. He'll be a first-round draft choice, and you will indeed see him here on CBS. Playoffs should be great this year, aren't they?
Another thing about Keith Lee, I think that because he was such a homebody, he was not given credit for staying home almost as if it was an excuse, not trying out for the Olympics or going on to the World University Games. But he really wanted to be close to his mother during that period of time.
Louisville's ball. Thompson putting it down. Stolen from behind. Memphis State comes right back. They have looked good at both ends of the floor. Askew missed the shot that time. So did Boyd. Gets it back and hits that one.
Boyd and Askew have been the leaders of what now is turning into a potential rout for Memphis State.
Mike Abram will check in for Denny Crum in Louisville. Memphis State is unbeaten on this floor this year. Turner's pass is a beauty.
That's Barry Sumter trying to help out. Picks up his 4th. Louisville in serious trouble.
Thompson will leave, and Abram reports in for Louisville. 11:49 left here in Memphis. I think I'm as impressed by Memphis State as I have been earlier by Georgetown and St. John's, Billy. I think that this looks like one of the elite teams in the country to me.
Well, they have good depth with Dave Grove, and we're looking at a game, Brent, with their #1 asset, the Twin Towers in there, and Bedford has not had a game at all. So you got to figure when he's playing on the top of his game and getting some minutes out here, they have to be even more impressive. Their 3 losses this year are really unusual. You start talking at Kansas, which is understandable. But then Detroit and South Carolina don't make a lot of sense.
Ball will continue after this word from your local station.
We are back in Memphis, and William Bedford, the 7-foot center, has returned for the Tigers. He sat out for Dana Kirk a total of 22 minutes. To give you an idea of the depth, they didn't miss the big fella at all. And he's going to become one of the premier centers in the land in the next couple of years. He's a sophomore. We have 11:40 to go. It's 52-34. The rout is on here in Memphis. The Tigers have already wrapped up the regular season championship in the Metro. They'll go to the tournament, and fortunately for Louisville, it'll be in their arena. Paul outside.
With Bedford coming into the ball game, the Memphis State zone changed a little bit because they put Bedford in the middle. That puts Keith Wing down in the back on the wing. Still very impressive.
They left Turner all alone. He missed the shot. Both Abram and Hall fell away from him on defense that time. Abram, 34.
Bedford taking up a lot of room in that center. Boy, when you have Lee and Bedford, the backside of that zone, tough to get a shot off.
Sumter can't put it away. Controlled by the Tigers.
Holmes is looking for the lob.
Askew. He's a cool-looking freshman, isn't he?
He and Boyd both look impressive to me. I don't know if I've seen 2 better freshmen as far as their potential to help a ball club than these 2 guys this year.
Lee runs it down out of bounds, and it'll go to the Cardinals.
Keith Lee not having a big day offensively.
And, of course, right after this, the second game of our doubleheader, Villanova, Pittsburgh, or UCLA and Arizona. Paul.
You can count on it, Brent. When he gets lined up on that jumper. Down to 14. Fans getting a little nervous. Memphis State certainly in control of this ball game at this time.
And we've seen nothing to indicate so far that Louisville can sustain a run. That's been their difficulty. They get one started, can't keep it going.
Well, they've had a hard time offensively today getting off any kind of consistent shooting. I mean, it hasn't come from any one place. They haven't been able to get a break going.
Bedford stuck with it.
And obviously inside, they're vastly overmatched in size.
Nice having those freshmen guarded to control the ball when the tournament starts without the shot clock.
How about Turner came about 35 feet to deflect that pass. He was at the lead, all the way out front on the press, and dropped all the way down in on the baseline to block it.
Didn't help Louisville's chances having Memphis State upset in Detroit either. They came out with a lot of determination. Crowd wanted a technical for hanging on the rim. Forrest can't put it down, and finally it rolls through for the Cardinals.
Good battling on the boards. You know, Memphis State hasn't rebounded as well with Bedford in the game as they did with him out of the game. Maybe just too much size.
Cook rebounding for Denny. Forrest.
He's showing some character here.
They're going to get something going. It's 54-42 at 8:57, and if they're going to do it, this is it. Askew missing. Now Louisville with a chance. Out of bounds.
And there, two freshmen at Denny Crum would have hoped to not have to play that much this year in his system, but because of the injuries, obviously Crook and Abram have had to be in there. Basketball Holmes sits down. And now you got Boyd back in there, who really had a great second half so far.
All foul Turner. Disagrees with the call.
Andre Turner kind of got hung up there. How'd you like to have a race with the ball between Muggsy Bogues from Wake Forest, Turner, and Michael Adams of BC, huh? Those three guys pretty quick with the ball?
That'd be a great foot race.
I don't know if there are any quicker than those three in the country.
Think Calvin Murphy could come out of retirement?
Maybe.
54-42, but 8:42 to go here in Memphis. We'll be right back. Better sets of cheerleaders than Memphis State and Louisville. They were 1 and 2 in a recent competition. And speaking of acrobatics, coming up next on CBS, the American Cup Gymnastics from Indianapolis. You'll see Mary Lou Retton in action. We'll have World Cup skiing, and we'll also have a little pool shooting for you and some road racing from Phoenix. 4 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS.
Is that what you call a segue, Brent?
I love those cheerleaders, especially when the game gets to be about 12 or 14 points.
That's right. Memphis State had won the national title 2 years in a row, and they were dethroned this year by Louisville. Speaks well of the Metro Conference.
They do a heck of a job. You ever see so much tape on cheerleaders?
That's in vogue now. You know, it used to be a cheerleader didn't want to show she's injured. Now they want to have tape on to show how tough they are.
Askew got it over to Boyd. Lee with the shot.
Again, Boyd coming up with a very simple play, but real good ball movement. That press has done just enough to throw Louisville out of their sync.
And that's why Dana uses it. He said, I'm not really trying to steal the ball. I just want to get folks off their rhythm a bit. Dana once was an assistant coach at Louisville. Denny Crum. And he revitalized this Memphis State program. This was a team that once played UCLA for a national championship and then fell on lean times. And Dana Kirk has put it back together as Abram, number 34, nails that field goal. Mike Abram, he's out of Muncie, Indiana, played for North High School. He's a freshman with good athletic talent.
Yeah, he's one of those 6'4", 5-inch players that Denny Crum likes to recruit to play that guard forward position. But he just needs some experience.
Knocked away from Bedford by Forrest. Out of bounds. Memphis State ball.
Billy Thompson been on that bench for a long time. Looking like he wants to get back in.
Turner bringing the clock down with this lead.
Sweet 16 team for the last 3 years. And when you figure Bobby Parks got hurt last year and they lost Phillips, their center, might have been a team for the Final Four last year.
Boyd missing. Sumter yanks it down. Morse gives it back to Abram, and then the return pass, and they'll go to Hall, who has been hot here in the second half.
He is a great shooter.
He has hit 6 in a row.
First half, he's a little shaky on the jump shot. Second half, he's really squaring up.
Now they got it down to 10. They get inside that magic figure. Let's see what they do defensively as Turner weaves and goes to Askew. What a play.
Some pass and some catch by Askew. That ball was a rocket, thrown a little bit low, and Askew was able to keep the hands on it. Turner busts right through the zone. Shuffle pass, Askew grabs it. That's just a good set of hands there.
And you look at the high schools that these young men are from in Memphis. They weren't teammates. They're out of different schools. Keith, West Memphis, Holmes, Westwood, Bedford, Melrose, Turner, Mitchell, Askew, Frazier, Beckton, Douglas, Boyd, Kirby, Wilfarm, Briarcrest. They play basketball all day long down here in this city.
Well, it's one of the best kept secrets in the country because you just haven't found for years many people coming to Memphis to look at ball players. Except Gene Bartow, as I mentioned, down at UAB, who, of course, had the great run as a coach here at Memphis State, and Dana.
Secret's over now, folks. They'll be coming in here by the plane load to scout this kind of talent.
And I understand they've got 2 juniors in town that are among the 2 best juniors in the country.
Battle, and it's Keith Lee who's got it, but he's under great pressure down there by Louisville. Abram comes up with it.
The Louisville players showing an awful lot of character. Playing on the road, not having a good game shooting-wise, and still hanging in here. They've been getting that old paper thrown on the floor. People did not want to see Keith Lee tied up. Maybe Dana's going to become a little bit more of an actor now and get on that microphone. And he's out of the coaching box right now.
He's talking about cut prices.
I am told by our producer, Bob Stenner, that someone threw an open pocket knife. And here's the coach. That's a good move by the coach. I remember Coach Boeheim in Syracuse had to do it on that Monday night game against Georgetown up there.
Well, you have to think somebody really had to be a sicko to throw a pocket knife on the floor. That was an orange up there at Syracuse. That's bad enough. That was interesting. When we went to commercial, people, of course, nationally didn't see it, but we're sitting here watching our other monitor, and there's Dana Kirk selling paint on a local commercial while we take a break.
Billy, at the top of the broadcast, we showed him pushing cars. He also sells water beds, furniture. Like I said, he does get more airtime than the local weatherman down here in Memphis. Biggest thing in this town since the late Elvis Presley. They love this basketball team.
And the people in Louisville have been doing a pretty good job supporting this year's club. They're averaging over 19,000 a game there themselves.
Here's Hall looking for 7 in a row. Finally misses, but Sumter gets it back for the Cardinals. And they're throwing some muscle under the glass. No basket.
Oh, yeah, that ball was on the rim. But again, Louisville really battling. And doing it with Billy Thompson sitting on the bench. He wants to get back in here. Denny Crum crying for a foul. Here's Hall, the first shot he's missed in 7. Louisville keeps it right alive on the boards. Here you see that little tap while the ball was on the rim. Good call.
5.5 minutes to go. And Louisville, with that chance, they're trailing by 12, but it has been so difficult for them to sustain anything against this talent. Here's Lee.
That's his shot. One of the few times today he's been able to go ahead and turn without somebody collapsing in on him.
Turner coming up with a steal. He fouled for it.
Well, these fans won't accept a foul on anybody on their team. There's no question about that one. Turner almost had the steal, but didn't get there quite in time.
There's the Little General's first personal of the game. You know, you got to have the big guys, the Pat Ewings of the world, to win a national championship. but you'll never get to the Final Four without the little generals, the Andre Turners, and the guys that handle the basketballs. You've got to have the guards.
That 2-3 zone still forced.
Missing. Askew puts it down. He's a good-looking rebounder, too. Then he goes to Turner. Abram came over defensively. Foul inside against Keith Lee, and that's 5 on Sumter.
He's going to have to go out. Probably Billy Thompson coming back in. Keith Lee showed he can run the court a little bit on that play.
Thompson wanted to come back in, but I'm not sure he wanted to come back in and replace the center.
Now, Sumter had a good ball game.
Yes, he did.
Battled Keith Lee all the way. Did a good job offensively. Hey, 9 points, 8 rebound day. Not bad. Good defensive job.
They shut him down in the second half, though, Billy. He had those 9 points at the half. He'll be a little tired, too. He's got to carry that whole load underneath.
At both ends of the court.
Walk.
Billy Thompson did a good job forcing Keith Lee to make one extra step.
Going to see one of your ACC teams tomorrow, and a good one, Georgia Tech against Oklahoma. That's going to be a great war. 2 p.m. Eastern time on CBS, right after the Notre Dame-Washington game. Digger Phelps, he's on the fence, too, as far as the tournament is concerned. Thompson maneuvering for Crum, and he's got the field goal.
A Digger with a big loss the other night against Butler.
Is that an overtime, Billy?
Yeah, I believe it was overtime. That committee has a tough job. You start taking into consideration strength of schedule, who you've beaten on the road, what type of conference you're in. Nice job by Turner. Not to try to force it. The main thing here is to win the game. Some players try to be spectacular when it's not necessary.
Away from the ball. Lee called for fouling Abram. That is Keith Lee's 3rd personal. He just doesn't look like the same person since he cut his hair.
Well, I imagine his wife said that was a major decision he had there. They talked it over for a number of weeks.
Lee era here in Memphis. His last game before the home crowd. And there is his family, Diane, and his son watching. They retired his jersey before the game began today. This school is 96-23 during the Keith Lee era. This young man going to go outside and get warmed up. He'll be here in a few years. And
I'll tell you, the first thing I think I'd do if I was Dane is I'd give him a scholarship, because you got to figure Diane was an outstanding player. Keith,
Billy,
they both got some size.
It doesn't work that way. That's just with horses.
Oh, is that right? No, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'd take my gambles.
13 points and 12 rebounds for Lee. And here is what he used to look like. See what I mean? He was like the matinee idol, the rock star down here in Memphis.
There's that 2-2-1 full-court press. Backcourt.
The backcourt line. Turned it back over to Memphis.
Again, it was Turner coming up with the super play. Billy Thompson just couldn't quite hang on the ball without stepping back over. That press has really been nasty today. It hasn't made any steals to speak of, but it has really thrown Louisville off track. I like the patience, too, of the freshmen. They don't try to force action. Boyd and Askew, they really have control.
The truth of the matter is, the freshmen who have played a lot for all the teams across the country, they're really no longer freshmen. You know, it's like a rookie in the NBA. When you get into the playoffs, you're really almost a first-year player when you think about it, Billy.
That's a good point. Keith Lee still being triple-teamed on the inside. Everybody aware of where he is.
Look at Hall down low in there with Boyd.
And Hall's looking. There it comes now. Hall coming over to the weak side. Boyd just a little bit of movement. Threw Hall off by about a step or two. He couldn't get over to help out on Lee.
Brooks. Foul by Lee, and that should be number 4 on Keith.
I would see Billy Thompson trying to front Keith Lee. Getting over on the side. Now Lee's got him pinned right here. Good lob pass, and Hall just can't quite get there in time.
During the Keith Lee era, if Memphis State wins today, they'll be 4-6 against Louisville. Denny Crum had the upper hand on him. And, of course, this year, if they lose this one, they will have lost both of them going to the tournament. And, again, as Billy Packer mentioned earlier, they figure to meet in the semifinals in Louisville next Friday night. We'll have the finals coming your way on Saturday afternoon. Billy, you're telling me that Virginia Tech is a good team. They could wind up playing for the Metro Championship in Louisville.
An excellent team. You're going to see some of the best outside shooting you'll ever see in the country. Del Curry is a great perimeter shooter.
Stolen from Lee. They picked his pocket that time. It's a 12-point Memphis State lead.
Clock becomes Louisville's problem now. They put on a gritty performance here, but their offense just hasn't been able to get in swing. 2-3 zone. Lee right in the center. That play is not there. They've got to get a guy in front of Keith Lee, not behind him.
Save. Holmes partially blocked, and then he banged into Thompson and fouled him out of frustration, and that's 4 on Baskerville. And there's the 7-footer, William Bedford, replacing Holmes. You know, Bedford last year, when they were beaten by Houston, he scored 21 points against Akeem Olajuwon.
Had a big ball game there, and of course in Keith Lee's one matchup against Georgetown, he really had the big game against Patrick Ewing. And they may meet again. Keith did not go to the Olympic trials, so you didn't see that matchup there during the Olympic trials.
And Billy, again, a lot of people wondered why, and we mentioned it earlier. It's worth repeating. His mother was terminally ill. He wanted to be close with her. She has subsequently passed away, but there's no attempt on Keith Lee's part to stay away from our Olympic team for any reason other than that. And speaking of our Olympic team, we've got Mary Lou Retton coming your way after our NCAA basketball doubleheader. She's up there in Indianapolis competing this afternoon. The America Cup, that's a 2-day tournament, by the way. You'll see it both Saturday and Sunday here on CBS. Dick Stockton will be up there covering that action.
Tomorrow we'll see one man that made the Olympic team from Oklahoma, Wayman Tisdale, a gold medal member of the gold medal team, and Mark Price, a guy who really wanted to be on that Olympic team, that was a star in our Pan Am game team, didn't make it, but he returns back to Oklahoma tomorrow, and we'll see what he can do.
Does he look good when I watch him on videotape?
Playing very, very well. Dana wants a timeout.
He's got an 11-point lead with Dana Kirk telling his team, don't foul. We're in the 1-and-1, 2:10 to go. We've got this lead, so let's not get him at the free throw line. And Billy, when you take a look at Louisville and what they've done and the talent they've got, what should they be trying to accomplish right now for Denny?
Well, obviously, being this far down with the clock's working against them a great deal. Memphis State, an excellent free throw shooting team, shooting over 72%, so it's tough, you know, to pick out somebody. I think Louisville really is in trouble right now. And you've got a great ball handler like Turner out there. Tough to take the ball away from him.
They'll have to pick someone.
Memphis State will be they'll be a tough team when that clock goes off. And, you know, Dana Kirk brought up a great point yesterday to us. One I had never thought about. He thought a great idea when the 64 teams are announced next Sunday, that they poll all 64 coaches and let them vote on whether the NCAA tournament should be played with or without a clock. It's a very interesting idea.
I think we should do it just out of curiosity.
Out of curiosity, right. I would bet you if it were done, that 50 out of the 64 minimum would say, let's play the game with the clock. Let's do that next year. That'd be interesting.
All right. I'll pick out 5, and you've got the other 50.
61, right? 59. I can't even subtract. Turner reaching in. Now, that's one thing Dana Kirk said, don't foul. Dana's shaking his head. Turner tried to go in for the little steal. I like like that timeout that Dana Kirk called, just to go ahead and say, hey, guys, the object is to win this game. We're not putting on a show here. Do not foul. Stay solid. Use up that clock. So what happens? They go right out on the floor and commit a foul.
This is the first of our doubleheader here this afternoon on CBS. Many of you are going to be watching Pittsburgh and Villanova in the Big East. Pittsburgh, an emerging team. You don't hear too much about them because of the St. John's and the Georgetowns and the Syracuses and the Boston Colleges and the Villanovas. But that's an improving basketball team. And the rest of you are going to watch one of those showdowns for the Pac-10, UCLA, coming your way against Arizona.
Good job by Askew. Don't try to make a bad pass. You're down on the other team's basket. Hang on to it. In the backcourt, you don't have the 5-second call because you got a 10-second count. So you can hold it for 9 seconds before you're in trouble.
Speaking of those free throw percentages, those are the 5 players on the floor right now for the Tigers. So whom to foul?
Well, Askew was the fellow that had the ball, so the foul was, you know, he happens to be the lowest shooting percentage man out there. But the way he's played today, you'd have to expect he makes both of them. Shooting a 1-on-1.
This afternoon, Askew has had 6 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists.
Well, the right man to foul on the percentages. But the time really working against Louisville.
Well, they have to go much quicker than this with their shot selection. They can't be worried about the perimeter here. Oh.
And there's Lee over the back.
And Keith Lee will foul out in his final appearance. And what an ovation he'll get from this crowd. So the end of an era here in Memphis State as Keith Lee closes out at home, but there's still a long road to go for this basketball team. And they hope to wind up not that far from here in Lexington, Kentucky, and the Final Four.
Jeter banging inside and enabled Louisville to have time to call the timeout. They have hung in here.
They really have.
That's part of the tradition of their team. You know, when you have that much success as Denny Crum has had, putting so many teams, 11 appearances into the NCAA tournament, but he's had 8 in a row this year. He may have problems this year. I really think this kind of game is, puts him in a position where he may just be 500 if that.
Thanks to our crew led by Kevin O'Malley, Bob Stenner, and Sandy Grossman. Did their usual outstanding job for us in Memphis this afternoon. We'll have a lot of those folks busy when we come to the tournament. Next Sunday, of course, we'll announce the selections on CBS. I should say the committee will make that announcement out of Kansas City. 64-team field enlarged, and at 5:30 Eastern Time, you'll find out who and where they will go. Remember that the Mid-East region is no more. It is now the Southeast region.
That's right, and the West has changed the alignment, so you have an East, Southeast, Midwest, and West. Now they're screaming for their hero. He did not have a particularly fluid game today, but one of the things I want to point out, very difficult for a big man to have a fluid game when you're being double and triple team on the inside. You just don't have room to operate.
St. John's snaps back after that heartbreak at the hands of Georgetown. They defeated Providence 72-53, and so St. John's wraps up the regular season championship in the Big East, and the tournament is coming up in the Garden next week. Could be round 3 between Georgetown and St. John's before that one's over, too. And I wonder if John Thompson will wear sweater again. Now it's his lucky sweater. Out of bounds.
Well, Louis says
go to Louisville.
Louis says he's going to wear it again, give it another try. Becton did touch the ball, but again, the clock really working against Louisville.
And indeed, there were many here, weren't there, by that young man? They want Hall to shoot, obviously. He maneuvers free, misfires, rejected by Bedford.
And again, a freshman showing good sense there. Boyd, instead of going down, trying a spectacular play, pulled it back out. One of the things that Memphis State has to be real concerned about, right now you figure, Brent, they're sitting in a position to be the #1 rated team in the Southeast. You know, the Metro Conference is lined up into the Southeast region in the NCAA playoffs. That loss the other night against Detroit had to hurt them a little bit. But if they were to go on and win their conference tournament with their position in the poll and the way they played this year, you'd have to figure they'd probably be the #1 seed down there.
Dana Kirk is going to make sure that his 3 seniors close out this game. Lee, of course, cannot, for the simple reason that he's fouled out, but he's going to bring McCoy back into the game. He opened the game with his 3 seniors. He'll close with 2 of them.
Good rebound.
Abram powering up through the foul, and he'll come to the line for Denny Crum.
Talking about a guy who didn't have much of a game today, Bedford, that was his foul. He just hadn't been able to get on track.
Dwight Boyd sits down, and Ricky McCoy. He's an outsider. No wonder he doesn't start. He's out of Tennessee, Germantown, Tennessee.
Well, it's at least in the state. As I said, as a freshman, he made 25 out of 26 free throws, but so the kind of guy you'd probably want to have around in the tournament time. There are 9
Abram with a great play, getting it out of bounds to save it. Abram again for the rebound, and there's that athletic skill. Finally coming to the front here. It is 63-57, 38 seconds. Memphis is simply going to run out of time. They certainly haven't run out of courage. We're going to come right back to Memphis, but for an update, let's go to Pat O'Brien in New York. Pat?
All right, Brent, thank you. The big news in college basketball today is the one